Hey, folks, welcome back to another Command Breakdown. I'm your host, Christian McCullum. Got a Minuteman Command coach expert, Dave Bowden, here today. We're going to break down 2025 UMass running back commit, Elijah Faulkner. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, man. I really appreciate it. Excited to do another one, with signing day around the corner.
All right, let's get right to it.
Yeah, so I think for Elijah, I think the first thing that jumps out, and you can play clip after clip, one of the greatest things about his highlight film is it's long, right? And that's always a good sign, especially at running back. We could have chose from so many clips, but you see here the near safety comes across over to try and make a stop. And I love how Elijah stays square. This is a simple outside zone play or wide zone, but he stays square when he gets to that near safety, makes the jump cut, and then it immediately gets vertical. You don't see that every day, right? From these guys, a lot of running backs have to kind of break to the sideline, shoulders get out of whack, and it takes them a while to get going. But love his acceleration, and again, just making play after play. I think just generally speaking, Christian, one of the biggest things that I see, with Elijah is extremely powerful, right? Not the biggest guy in the world, not undersized by any means, but listed at 5'10", 190, but solid, powerful guy. He finishes runs time and time again, has great balance. You see him ping pong a lot of times, getting off of would-be tacklers, spinning with a purpose, right? Not a lot of times guys overuse that. I think he does a nice job of spinning and also keeping the football away from defenders when he does it, and then accelerating and getting in and out of breaks really fast. He can stop and go. I think old school football coaches would call this guy, evaluating his film a 2-footer, just because I think you need about 2 feet of film to see that he's a player. I mean, it doesn't take much to put it on, and the great thing is it continues for a really long highlight film at a big time high school.
Yeah, you mentioned it. The one thing I like about him is he loves to get north and south. For a small, shifty guy who has moves, every time he makes a move, it's back to getting north and south. That's something I really like to see.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I mean, you hit the nail on the head, right? And I think I want to make sure we include this next clip because while this is not in pass pro, in fact, this is really like a near. This is a QB draw, lead draw with Elijah as a lead back, sort of an ISO on the backer. But this is the type of thing that separates backs to the next level. Right? So first of all, you have to have the wherewithal. Pass pro is a whole other thing, especially when you get to college, in terms of understanding who you're responsible for. Right, that can come with film study. That's a coachable trait. But one of the things you have to have before that is something with the willingness to do it. And clearly, you see him here not only engage at on their side of the line of scrimmage, but he finishes with violence. He's got a nasty side to him. He wants to finish the block and land on top of him, almost like an offensive lineman, with a pancake here. And so you love to see it. I mean, there's running backs, all over the place that can run the football in high school. There's a lot of really, really good running backs that can run the football. It's what are these things, these other things you can do that's going to separate you to be a 3-down back in college and to be able to do all the other things that you're asked to do in college. So this is a great sign. I love to see this early in his highlight film, and taking pride in finishing blocks is a real good sign. He's got a good chance here to get on the field early for UMass.
That's not a willingness to block. That's desire to block. That guy's happy about that.
No question. Yeah, that 1-2 is there. He is. And I just love the nastiness and the finish. The finish for the block is the same way he finishes runs, though, right? He finishes with power and aggressiveness, and it's really fun to watch. This one here, just a power play. So the guard pulls, their sniffer there kicks out at the end. One of the biggest mistakes you see a lot of times by high school running backs is they always want to bounce power, right? I mean, it's like, my daughter's a 6-year-old flag football player, right? And as soon as those kids get the ball, the first thing they do is what? They run to the sideline, try to run around and circle the defense. That's what they do. And in high school, you see a lot of that still kind of, hanging around a lot of times for guys, and you never really want to bounce power. There's a one situation, but it's rare, and we're not going to get into all that. But to see a guy hit this thing downhill, you mentioned it earlier, with a purpose, and making sure that he keeps this thing inside again with the shoulder square, accelerates. He's got great knee drive that continues clip after clip after clip. He's like, his legs are like pistons, constantly moving, tough. Nobody really wants to tackle that kind of back. And so really impressive here.
Let's not reach that ball out unless it's fourth down, right?
You're right about that. So Pennsylvania football, man, it's underrated. I really between Pennsylvania and Ohio, a lot of really good football, and this type of power running is really what Pennsylvania is known for, right? Guys like this. Of course, he's at Central Catholic, so I say that he's got the likes of Dan Marino have graced those halls, but when you think about that area and it gets cold, and you got to be able to run. Here, Chris, want to make sure included. Catching the ball out of the backfield. Obviously you can see how electric he is after the fact, but for him to reach back, the ball's thrown, the opposite shoulder, he's able to spin around, make the catch with his hands away from his body. Again, it goes back to what we started with, which is in college, this is going to separate you, right? Can you pass pro? Can you block? You're going to be downfield. Can you make plays and catch the football out of the backfield? There's a lot of things. Can you motion out and line up wide and do some other things? So, you're going to be asked to do a lot more things at the next level. And, he's got all of those, those things show up on film. And it's a really good sign, and so want to make sure he was on here and not a guy that's just going to hand the ball to. You can get him out in space and do some things. And again, certainly he's, tough to bring down and open field, and would have been easy to show the 20 touchdowns that he had senior year, his junior year. But I want to make sure that we touch on all the other things that he does to make him a complete back. This last one here, just a split zone, split flow zone play that's really popular here, and this thing tends to typically wind back. For Elijah here, he hits this thing exactly where he's supposed to. And then instead of just, again, he's staying square and running with power and really like in a tight space. This shows up a lot for Elijah where, he's bouncing off tacklers, spinning into the end zone. It doesn't get brought down, yards after contact constantly over and over again. And so, I'm excited about this guy, really, Christian. I mean, he's a guy that can do a lot of different things, and I think he fits. I mean, he fits. We talked about Central Catholic PA and getting out to UMass in a place that they want to establish an identity, and I think this is a guy that you can do that with and build with.
Yeah, so one of the things I like about ball carriers, my favorite kind of qualities, is guys who don't like getting tackled, right? They just like refuse to get tackled. For him, he has this new thing, I guess. He doesn't like being stopped. It's a little different where he like that. He'll get someone out of the way for some reason. If he's being tackled, he refuses to be tackled, but he also finds ways to just not have someone in front of him. It's a really interesting quality. And like I said, all the moves, usually when you see a jitterbug like this, he has trouble going north and south. But with him, he loves getting north and south. It's what he wants to do. If he has the opportunity to do it, sometimes he just needs to make a move on someone and then get right back to it.
Yeah, he does. And he has that innate ability, but he also, he has the acceleration to get out of those breaks and get north south with speed, and you don't see that very often, a guy that can pick up full speed that. I mean, again, this is a guy that I think runs more powerful than his size, right? I would say he would. Again, I want to make sure, make no mistake about it. This is not an undersized football player, running back by any means. But typically, this is a guy you would see at 225 pounds that are running through tacklers like this, and so again, really impressive for his size. And but he can still do all those other things that he's going to ask to do at the next level.
We've done a few of these now, and obviously we've had a lot of glowing things to say about him, and it's highlights, but it's also traits. It's not just lucky plays. And we've talked about the programs these guys are coming from. Central Catholic High School is one of the best programs in the Northeast, the entire country. They send players to Power 5 schools, major Power 5 schools every year. This is their lead running back. What do you think this, after doing a few of these and looking at the new commits of the new era, I mean, what do you think it says guys like Elijah and these other guys say about, Joe Harris-Simiak and the kind of players they're going to be recruiting?
Yeah, you certainly, you can start to see a trend, right? Like historic programs that win, you want to brings in guys that are used to winning, that expect to win. I think that's part of it. From places that are tough, that have a little grit to them. And so you're starting to see building an identity like we talked about. And so Elijah's no different. And I think that's exciting. If you're a UMass fan, that's exciting, right? Those are things that you want to root for as a football fan, for sure.
All right, Coach. Well, hey, we appreciate it as always. Stay tuned to MinutemenCommand.com for more coverage on Elijah and the rest of the UMass football recruiting and UMass football news. Thanks a lot.